Hi, folks. I hope you're well. I've just seen a poem about being nice on what's it called? Britain's Got Talent. Yeah. The last person on the last one on yesterday was doing that poem. And yeah. When he was doing the poem, I knew straight away he's lying. He knows what he's saying is not true. He understands what he's saying is not true. He's trying to please everyone. At the end of it, he said, basically, you have to be nice. And yes, okay. Trying to be nice to everyone is completely nasty. Because, again, why would you try to be nice to everyone? Is it about them or is it about you? Trying to be nice to everyone means you want people to like you. You want people to love you. You want people to think you're really nice. Even though, no. Because you're lying to people. If you're trying to be nice to people, it's like if you've got a friend who's doing a job in your company and you see that what they're doing is completely wrong all the time, but you say to them, oh, you're really doing a good job. That person will love that. Yeah. Even church says that's really encouraging people, saying they're doing a good job. Even if you're lying, that's good because it's encouraging people, right? But when that person is sacked, and then on that person's next job, there's someone like you saying the same crap, and that person is doing a bad job again, but people are saying, oh, you're doing such a good job. That person loves it again, thinking, okay, this time I'm doing a good job, until they're sacked. Is that the way to be a friend to someone? Again, as I said before, Rob said to me years ago, my friend Rob, he said to me years ago, if someone asks you to drive them to a house to have an affair, would you drive them to that place? At first I said no. And I said, well, actually, yeah. But I would actually talk to them about their wife or husband, talk to them about their marriage, and talk to them about their kids, and talk to them about their family and what their family will think when they learn what they're doing. He said no, he wouldn't do that. He would just take them there and let them have the affair. Well, of course he would. Well, because for him, certainly at that time, he was thinking that was the right way because he needed people to think he was nice, because then they would help him when he needed help. But then he's helping them to wreck their marriage and hurt their wife or husband, hurt their family, hurt their kids, right? Again, okay, I'll ask the question. Well, Rob might actually hear this. Cool. So, okay, I'll ask the question. If Rob's wife asked me to drive her to somewhere so she can have an affair, would he think that would be good if I do it? No, of course not. If I did that, he would never talk to me again, would he? But that's, again, when he asked that question to me years ago, his mind was thinking about being nice to people all the time. That's the way he was. And so therefore, but again, think about if you're saying lies to people all the time, first of all, what are you of? You're not of God if you're telling lies all the time, are you? If you're telling lies, you're of the devil, you're not of God, because the God of lies is the devil. The God of truth is the God who created us, the world, and everything else. But when you think that lies are good, and when you think that you should be telling lies because it's better because you're pleasing people and people will like you and maybe help you when you need help. Again, yeah. That's one of the most evil things you can do. If we, again, I'm not trying to judge according to good and evil, but for a second, yeah, it is one of the most evil things you can do. It's insanity. It's another area of insanity that people think that, yeah, pretending that good is bad and bad is good in some way. Helping someone to have an affair. The Bible says completely, if someone is having an affair, then they can't go in the church, in the services, right? So when you're saying you would just help someone to have an affair because, then when you need help, they will help you. Yeah. The truth of it with all that, I'm not saying this to Rob, but I'm saying just, when I think about it, I'm just thinking, fuck you. Seriously. Again, I'm not saying this to Rob but when I think about how the church is, how the world is, and how so many people think being nice is so important, and they don't care about hurting people by doing that. Like parents being nice to their kids, and their kids have never learned the word no, and therefore the kid will never have a job because when their employer says no to them, the kids can't deal with it, so therefore they'd be sacked. Was it good for the parents to do that? No, it was nasty. Because again, the reason why parents are trying to be nice to their kids because it makes it easier for them. It's about them. Easier for them. None of this being nice is about love in any way, shape, or form. There is a time to be nice, but sometimes there's a time not to be. If somebody asked me, if Bianca asked me, Rob's wife, to take her to a place to have an affair, I would drive her in that direction. But I'm going to be speaking to her about Rob and about her kids. about how they're going to react when they find out what she's bloody done, what she's been trying to do. Because I want her to stop. I want her to realise, oh crap, if I do this, I'm wrecking my life. Right? I'm not only wrecking my life, I'm wrecking the life of my kids, I'm wrecking the life of my husband. I'm going to hurt all of them. The whole idea of being nice, it's something that to me, I look at it and go, ugh. It is just disgusting. To me, it's so much about self. Basically, trying to be nice is basically saying to other people, fuck you, it's about me. I want you to think I'm nice because you think I'm nice, it's going to help my life. I'm going to lie to you all the time. If a woman says to me, do I look fat in this? If they do, I'm going to say yes. Because, again, I don't want her to go outside and people look at her saying, bloody hell, what are you wearing? Right? If what she's wearing is completely bloody mad and makes her look really, really bad, I want to say the truth for her to actually look at it and think, okay, I'm going to change to wear something better. Right? Of course. Again, I'm not judging that. So again, if someone wants me to drive them to the place for an affair, I'm not going to judge that person. Not at all. I don't want them to judge themselves at all. I just want them to realise what they're doing before it's too late. If I've got time to talk to them to try and help them to actually stop that, then I will do that. As I say, that's why I'm in this situation of being alone. And Rob said that to me years ago. He said, you're alone because you don't do things in that way. Yeah, maybe that's true, and that's okay. Yeah, I'm not going to stop being this way because I know that I have one life. One life. Am I going to spend that life lying to people for them to actually like me? Even though what I'm doing should make them hate me. Am I going to do that? No chance at all. No. No. That's completely wasting my life. If I'm supposed to be alone by doing that, then okay. That's okay. Yeah. It is. That's okay. It's that situation, then that would be okay. But at least then people like Rob will know that I'm going to be truthful with him. Always. I'm not going to drive his wife to have an affair without trying to help her to understand what it's going to do to him and the kids and herself. Right? I'm not going to judge him for what he's doing because, again, at that time, all he could do was, again, the way he was in. Maybe one time, hopefully, I can do a video with him and he can tell people why he was doing that. Because that's important. People can learn from him doing that. It's not up to me to try and tell you why he was doing that because he knows far better than I do. I know that the way he was living life at that point in time, he was trying to trust in God, right? He was trying to have it that God would provide for him. But the problem is, God providing for him is very much a case that, yeah, God will leave you in a shit situation because he's doing something in you. He's dealing with the issues in you. He's dealing with the way you react to things. And yeah, but when you're in that and in that and in that, then obviously if you can find another way, yeah, pleasing people. Because again, if you're waiting for God to do something nice in the way we think things are nice, it may never happen. And so for him, yes, he was believing in God to provide for him, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And so therefore, after a while, he understood that there was another spiritual, well, yeah. Again, I don't think it's a spiritual way. I seriously think it's a way that is not a way that people should be doing things. Because I think it's verging on demonic. Well, because it is. If you're being nice to people because you know, if I'm doing something nice for you because I know that I'm sowing seed and that when I need, come on, in no way, shape or form is that ever a motive to do things, right? Because to my understanding, as soon as you do that, you're disqualifying yourself from it, right? From the actual seed and yeah. Because you're basically doing things because you know when you do that you get something back, or you're doing it because you want something back, right? A lot of people do it. I'm not judging them. I'm simply saying that I believe that that's not a good thing. So when I'm trying to understand it, it's not easy for me to understand it from. I can't understand it from other people's point of view because I've never had their point of view, have I? That's why I say the best thing would be for him to be the one to tell his story, because that's for him to do. But yeah, I get it. As I say, I get the way these things are quite easy to fall into. The devil's trying to set traps for us all over, and so therefore, yeah, I'm not going to judge other people for falling into a trap. I fall into traps. Oh yes. So I'm not trying to judge other people for falling, but I'm saying what the action itself, it's yeah. It's not God. No. Because what God's action is that simply, okay, again, this seed thing. Yeah. We're supposed to sow. And we're supposed to judge, we're supposed to trust God for whatever we need that we will have. Okay? But the problem is, again, right, with Rob, when he was on his own, he he just about put up with some very, very bad situations. Living in caravans with no heating, no hot water, in winter on a farm when he's working for the farmer, right? And the farmer's barely providing anything. Yeah? But that was God doing it. God was the one making sure that the farmer wasn't providing anything. To frustrate Rob. God wanted to frustrate Rob, to show what was there, right? But again, when you're in that, when you're on your own as a single person, that's one thing. When you're married with children, you can't be in that situation. So you have to do things slightly different. So therefore, yes. But again, I'm sorry, I have to be honest. Rob was doing things slightly different way before he was in that caravan with the farmer. Way before then, he was already doing things slightly differently to that. Slightly differently to trusting purely in God to provide, he has found his own way of doing things. Well, as I say, when I spoke to, there was a chap called Blair Crawford, who was the YMCA director. And Blair Crawford was a YMCA director, and he was also a local councillor. He managed to do that. And when Blair then said to me that he's now also an associate pastor in a church, I said to him, okay, if I was you, I'd go to God about this, because, being the director of the YMCA, being a local councillor, being the associate pastor of a church, being a husband and being a father, that seems to be an awful lot on your shoulders. Rob said to me, you should have just said, oh, well done, because that's what Rob said. I said, but you know that what I said was true. He said, well, yeah, but, I know that if I need a favour from Blair in the future, I'm more likely to get it than you are, because, I said something encouraging to him, rather than sort of saying that maybe he was wrong. I said, but maybe he was wrong. That's true though, isn't it? Should he go to God about this and make sure that, the load isn't too heavy? Blair also had a son who was having, I don't know what difficulties he was having, whether they were psychiatric or just mental health, but pretty bad, and it put a huge stress on the family, obviously. And so, Blair Crawford, lovely man. I've spent a lot of time with Blair in the past, and liked him a lot. He was a very patient person, because I was at the time, struggling. A lot of times that I've spoken to him, and I was at the YMCA, so I was speaking to him about the fact that the YMCA staff in this Christian organisation were not exactly doing things according to how they should be in such an organisation. And of course, as a director, he was dealing with a lot of stuff, so dealing with me wasn't easy for him. So I understand that. So let's say I'm not judging Rob. I'm simply saying this whole idea about being nice, it doesn't come from God. There's an awful lot of nasty involved in it. So be honest, be truthful, be a blessing.